Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. InsyaAllah.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, insyaAllah we will continue. Kita akan sambung on the topics of fiscal policy. So today's topic is the types of fiscal policy. There are two types of fiscal policy: expansionary fiscal policy and contractionary fiscal policy. Okay, so contractionary fiscal policy is a policy to increase the policy that increases the government expenditure and or reduce tax. So the purpose of expansionary fiscal policy is to stimulate the economic activities and the expansionary fiscal policy is often used during a recession. So bila ada masa kemelesetan ekonomi seperti sekarang, the times of high unemployment, the government usually use the expansionary fiscal policy. Okay, dasar fiskal mengembang ni digunakan di zaman apabila ekonomi meleset ataupun apabila terdapatnya kadar pengangguran yang tinggi. Tujuannya adalah untuk meningkatkan aktiviti ekonomi, to stimulate the economy. The idea of expansionary fiscal policy is to stimulate the economy by increasing government expenditure or lowering the tax or both. So when the government spend more, increase the government expenditure, certain sectors of the economy will benefit, the contractors, the suppliers. So, and also when the government reduce the tax, people will have more money. This is what we learned in the macroeconomic classes. So the objective or the goal of expansionary fiscal policy is to put more money in the hands of consumers. So when the government increase the government expenditure, what happens is there'll be, for example, if the government build schools or hospitals or highways, what happens is the contractors, the workers of the project, the suppliers of the materials will benefit and they will have more money in the pocket. Similarly, if the government lower the tax, people will have more money. The disposable income will increase. So more money means the consumers have the ability to spend. They will increase, the consumers will increase the consumption, and the increase in consumption will stimulate the production of the goods and services. Bila perbelanjaan penggunaan oleh pengguna meningkat, maka pihak penjual juga akan meningkatkan pengeluaran. So the goal of expansionary fiscal policy is to bolster aggregate demand or to increase the aggregate demand. So the increase in consumption will increase the aggregate demand, and so the increase in aggregate demand will in turn uh, lead to the increase in aggregate supply. All right. So the second type of fiscal policy is contractionary fiscal policy. The contractionary fiscal policy is used to slow down economic growth, and it is usually and commonly used during inflation. So during the time of inflation, the government commonly introduce contractionary fiscal policy. So contractionary fiscal policy is the opposite of expansionary fiscal policy. So during the contractionary fiscal policy, the government will increase the tax or reduce the government expenditure or both. So during contractionary fiscal policy, the government raises or increase tax and cuts the government spending. So when the consumers have to pay more taxes, they have less money to spend, and it will slow down the economic activities, and it could help to control or to curb the inflation rate. So remember, during the time of inflation, contractionary fiscal policy is used. So under contractionary fiscal policies, the economy usually grows by less than 3% per year. So this is the purpose is to cure or to combat or to control the inflation. Okay. So let me repeat. The expansionary fiscal policy is used during recession. So the expansionary fiscal policy is used during recession by increasing government expenditure or uh, decreasing tax or both. The purpose is to increase the expenditure by consumers. When consumers have more money in the pocket, they will spend more, which in turn will lead to the increase in production by producers and sellers. During the time of inflation, on the other hand, the government usually introduce contractionary fiscal policy. Okay, the purpose is to cure or to control inflation by increasing tax or decreasing the government spending or both. So when people have less money in the pocket, they will spend less, and hopefully it will help to control inflation. All right, so let's look at the Islamic principles of government expenditure. The Islamic guiding principles on government expenditures. So there are a few principles in Islam on the government expenditure. Number one, in Islam, Government expenditure is based on its revenue. Okay, the government is supposed to spend based on the revenue. Uh, so the spending should be in moderation. Perbelanjaan kerajaan mesti secara sederhana dan mesti berdasarkan kepada pendapat hasil kerajaan. Kalau hasil banyak, boleh belanja banyak. Kalau hasil sedikit, belanjalah sedikit. Belanja mengikut kemampuan. So in the Islamic economic system, government expenditure is based on its revenue, which leads to balanced budget. Balanced budget means the expenditure by the government is equal to the revenue. For example, if the revenue is say 2 billion, then the expenditure is 2 billion. So the government revenue equals to government expenditure, which results in a balanced budget. Or if the government spend less than the revenue, okay, for example, if the revenue is 2 billion and the government expenditure is 1.9 billion, so that leaves with a surplus. Okay, so when the money or the revenue of the government is more than the expenditure, it will lead to the surplus. Duit kerajaan banyak, perbelanjaan kurang daripada duit ataupun hasil kerajaan, maka ada lebihan. So lebihan budget. So the surplus budget occurs when the government expenditure is less than the government revenue. So in Islam, moderation, kesederhanaan, wasatiyah, kesederhanaan. Moderation is a key feature in the Islamic economic system. And number two, priorities in spending. When the government want to spend the money, it has to be based on maqasid sharia. Priorities are given to daruriyat first, the necessities, and then after the fulfillment of daruriyat, then government can allocate the money or the budget to fulfill hajiyat. Okay, after the fulfillment of hajiyat, then the government can allocate the money to fulfill tahsiniyat. Daruriyat is the necessities of life, the basic necessities of life. And according to Islamic scholars, there are 5 daruriyat, which are deen or faith, nafs or life, aql, intellect, naslu, progeny, and mal, wealth. So there are 5 necessities of life, which are faith or religion, life, intellect, progeny, and wealth. So the priority for the Islamic government is to make allocations for expenditures to fulfill these 5 daruriyat or 5 necessities. Asma,
Ya, Doktor.
dah makan dah?
Dah.
Faham tak? Ada soalan tak? Apa soalan?
Tak ada doktor.
Boleh nampak tak screen sharing ni?
Boleh?
Hmm. Kena tanya kalau tak faham sebab ni masuk exam ni. Okey, Nurul Akilah. Ada soalan? Okay. If there is no question, we will move to next chapter, chapter 10. Chapter 10 is on money and Islamic monetary policy. What is money? Hamdi,
Saya doktor.
duit tu apa? What is money?
What is money ya? Duit tu satu barang pertukaran.
Okay, duit tu barang.
Duit tu modern. Apa ni?
Medium.
Medium.
Medium of exchange.
Medium pertukaran doktor.
Okay. So money is very important. Money is not everything, but everything needs money. Nak kahwin pun kena ada duit. Nak mati pun kena ada duit. Tak ada duit tak boleh mati. Nak hidup kena ada duit, nak mati pun kena ada duit. Money is not everything, but everything needs money. Money cannot buy happiness. But without money, we are not happy. So everybody needs money. Every country in the world needs money. Everybody needs money. So every country in the world needs money and needs a financial institution for the benefit of the country. Setiap negara memerlukan wang. Setiap negara memerlukan institusi kewangan. So that's what we will discuss. Money and the Islamic monetary policy. In the Islamic community, the Muslims have already used the money as a transaction currency, and the dealing of bank as a place of exchange and the money saving. Dalam dunia Islam pun sudah orang Islam sudah lama menggunakan wang dan sudah lama menggunakan kemudahan bank. So bank is the place of exchange and money saving. Bank adalah tempat di mana boleh dilakukan pertukaran wang dan juga boleh digunakan sebagai tempat untuk menyimpan wang, juga tempat untuk melabur, menyimpan dengan tujuan untuk mendapat pulangan. However, the issue related to money banking and the new perspective of the monetary policy has been highlighted in the 20th century. The existence of a bank or financial institution, the introduction of bank notes and securities in the Islamic countries has led to the Muslim jurists facing various problems to be solved. So bila ada banyak bank, banyak isu yang perlu diselesaikan dari segi in terms of the permissibility and impermissibility of the transaction and the investment. Bila wujudnya bank, isu uh, apa yang apa yang halal, apa yang haram, apa yang boleh dibuat pelaburan yang patuh syariah itu menjadi isu yang dibincangkan oleh ulama-ulama. There is a need to analyze interest or riba, speculation, gambling, foreign exchange, and other concepts of modern transactions. To make sure everything is in accordance with the Islamic Sharia, there is a need for a new approach to be in line with what is required by the Sharia. Money is a medium of exchange. Money has the advantage compared to the barter system. Barter system is a system where people trade goods for goods. Okay, tukar barang dengan barang, itu sistem barter. The main functions of money are as medium of exchange, a unit of account, a store of value, and sometimes a standard of deferred payment. Fungsi utama wang adalah sebagai medium pertukaran, unit account. Wang adalah sebagai satu unit account, juga sebagai satu simpanan nilai, dan kadang-kadang digunakan sebagai bayaran tertangguh. For the different of time, for the different of time of need, everyone has a different time with others for the purpose of an item to be used. Okay. So most economists define 4 functions of money as a means of exchange, a measure of value, store of value, and a medium of deferred payment. With the elimination of interest and the imposition of zakat has made the cash holdings for the purpose of speculation will disappear. This leads to the main function of money as a medium of exchange more widespread. Fungsi utama wang adalah sebagai medium pertukaran lah. As the beginning of fluctuations in the demand for money that will cause the business cycle is with the money be detained. Money can also be depreciated like other assets, and depreciation will occur at okay. Okay, let's talk about demand and supply of money. Demand for money, according to Chapra, with the demand for base money this is determined by the purpose of transaction and alerts. So according to Chapra, the demand of money is determined by the purpose of transactions and alerts. Demand untuk wang bergantung kepada tujuan sesuatu urus niaga itu dilakukan. Lebih banyak urus niaga yang dilakukan, lebih banyak wang yang di demand atau yang diminta. Money held for speculative purposes has become less important in the economy of Islam compared to the conventional economy. So in conventional economy, money is used for speculative purposes, but in Islamic economy, the importance of money held for speculative purpose has become less important. The demand for money for specific purposes should not exist because Islam does not allow speculation, because there is an element of gharar or uncertainty in the speculation. So the elements of gharar is prohibited in Islam. Money is created in the economy without usury or riba, without interest or riba. Is oriented to investment. So money is, in Islam, money is used as an investment, and it is not oriented to the loans. Money is not oriented to the loans because the loans charge interest or riba, and riba is prohibited in Islam. Let's talk about the supply of money. Money supply in an economy is dependent on three sides. So the amount of money or the supply of money depends on three sides or three parties: the central bank, the commercial banks, and the public. All three parties, the central bank, commercial banks, and the public, affect the circulation of money in the economy by central banks. As government agencies can contract means to reduce, and expense means to increase the money supply through appropriate policies and economic conditions. So penawaran wang di sebuah negara itu pertamanya ditentukan oleh bank negara, the central bank lah, yang boleh menambah, yang boleh increase the money supply or decrease the money supply using certain policies. So pihak pertama yang bertanggungjawab untuk mengawal penawaran wang ialah central bank. Di Malaysia ni kita panggil bank negara Malaysia. Kemudian pihak yang kedua ialah commercial banks. Okay, commercial banks with financing equipment can also affect the money supply or the circulation of money through profit facilities and services that have been provided. Dan yang ketiga, pihak awam, orang ramai juga mempengaruhi uh, penawaran wang. The behavior of the public towards the economy and commercial banks also affects the the position of the money supply in the economy. If if people are engaged in more transactions, they will need more money, so it will affect the supply of money. Financial institutions. Okay, in Islam, like we said before, financial institutions and money has existed since the early years of Islam. So Islamic financial institutions are revolving around the several to establish concepts that are based on the Sharia. So unlike the conventional financial institution, the Islamic financial institutions must be based on the Sharia. Islamic financial institutions must operate within the framework of the religion based on the Quran, the Sunnah, and other sources. In history, Islamic financial institutions that existed in Islamic societies are only three. The three financial institutions in Islam are the Baitul Mal, Takaful, and Waqaf. So those are the first three financial institutions that existed in the early years of Islamic government: Baitul Mal, Takaful, and Waqaf. Even so, the discussion of financial institutions should not be confined to Baitul Mal, Takaful, or Waqaf, but it needs to be developed to establish several other financial institutions, but it must keep with Islam. It must be in line with Islam and in accordance with the requirements of the times and society. So, in general, Islamic financial institutions may be divided into some categories, such as banks, non-banks, financial institutions, welfare institutions, and institutions supervisors. Let's talk about commercial banks. The bank has a very important role in any financial system. Modern banks can create money by the governments, producers, consumers, and more was indebted to them. However, in the process of creditors, the modern bank system give priorities to the debtor who can repay the debt by the issuance of money that is loaned to them. But the Islamic banking system is different from the conventional bank. Islamic bank Islamic banking system is in the terms of giving and spending money to their customers and more aspects of production, which is through profit and loss sharing between the bank and the consumer. So one of the concepts that is used in Islamic bank is to help the customers by engaging in the profit and loss sharing, yeah, between the bank and the consumers. Between the bank and the customers. So an Islamic bank, for example, Bank Islam, Bank Rakyat, CRMB, and others, is actually a commercial bank operating without any element of riba or interest. The idea for the bank operations for financing and profit sharing of musharaka and mudarabah has actually started around the 1930s and 1940s. So one of the principles used in Islamic bank is musharaka and mudarabah. The principle in Islamic banks is concept gains operating through musharaka and mudaraba, and there is no interest or riba charge because elements of riba is prohibited in Islamic banks. Islamic banks operate the concept that has been implemented in terms of bank financing to customers and for customers savings mudaraba concept. Capital resources. Generally, banks raise funds through shares, fund trading, and also investment funds. For example, Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad (BIMB) classify these sources, shares, fund trading, and investment funds to the current account, savings account, and investment accounts. So in the current account in the Bank Islam, the depositors or the users will not be an advantage if using storage, but they will be charged for the service if necessary. For storage purposes, the investment account is much to gain. In this case, the bank can be regarded as entrepreneurs or mudarib, and the owners of capital is called the Rabbul Mal. So when the customers uh, deposit the money in certain investment in the bank, and the bank invests and it gains a profit, so the profit is divided between the bank and the customers, and the rate must be agreed by both the bank and the customers. In addition to facilities such as account, Bank Savings of Islam also receive a special investment account, okay, under the, for example, uh, ordinary, for example, the account Mudarabah. So in terms of the current accounts and savings account, the bank will ask the consent of the depositor to use the money, and then this is in accordance with the concept in Islam. This shows that the difference between savings account holders will get a share of benefits from the use of its funds, and current account holders will not be able to get any return. But usually, the Islamic bank will give some form of hibah to the depositors. Okay. Let's discuss a few of the concepts used in Islamic banking. The musharaka in the musharaka, the bank um, together with the customers, they each contribute the capital to the project, and each of them, the bank and the customers, is entitled to the management, the rewards or the benefit, the rewards or the return from the project will be divided between the bank and the customers uh, according to the pre-agreed ratio agreement. Okay. And then the concept of equity participation and mudarabah. Okay. Non-bank institutions, beside the banking institutions, there are also non-bank institutions. These institutions consist of finance companies, investment company, trust investment company, insurance, cooperatives, and savings bank. Okay. Nur Hazira,
Ya, doktor.
ada soalan tak? Faham semua ke tak faham langsung?
50-50.
Kalau tak ada yang tak faham, tanya yang mana tak faham. Kalau 50-50, tanyalah yang 50 tak faham tu apa. Yang mana tak faham. Saya boleh ulang.
Tak tahu nak tanya apa.
Tu dia. Tak, ada benda tak faham, tapi tak tahu nak tanya apa. Tak faham tapi tak tahu nak tanya apa. Pelik. Dia kena, tak faham kena tanya. Okey. Kita tengok Islamic Monetary System, Islamic Monetary Policy. Nota ni nanti saya edit lagi lah. Ada beberapa kesalahan yang tak sempat saya edit. Monetary policy of an Islamic state Monetary policy of an Islamic state takes place in a framework in which all conventional tools normally available in a modern economy are the disposal of the monetary authorities, with the exception of the discount rate and policy tools that involve interest rate. So, dasar kewangan Islam dengan dasar kewangan konvensional banyak yang sama lah, banyak persamaan, kecuali dalam dasar kewangan Islam ini tidak ada riba dan tidak ada discount rate. So benda-benda yang lain, alat-alat yang lain, all other tools such as open market operation, where equity shares rather than bonds are traded and credit policies can be effective in an Islamic system as are in the conventional system. So banyak persamaan lah. Contohnya open market operation wujud dalam sistem dalam dasar kewangan konvensional dan juga dasar kewangan Islam. Bezanya dasar kewangan Islam ini tidak melibatkan riba dan tidak melibatkan apa-apa elemen yang berkaitan dengan riba seperti discount rate. The authorities in an Islamic can utilize reserve requirements and profit sharing ratio uh, to achieve changes in the stocks of money and credit. Okey. Hari ni kita mula awal sebab nak berhenti awal. Kita kena berhenti pukul 2.50. So ada 3 minit lagi sebelum kita berhenti. Asma. Asma Mak Saad.
Ya, Doktor.
Nak berhenti dah ni. Ada 3 minit lagi. Boleh tanya soalan? Nak tanya apa?
Tak ada, Doktor.
Nur Hazira.
Ya, Doktor.
Ada soalan tak? Nak berhenti ke ni?
Nak tanya. Nak tanya.
Tanya.
Tak tahu lah saya ni betul ataupun salah.
Tak apa.
Kenapa setiap negara nilai mata wang dia lain?
Kenapa setiap negara nilai mata wang dia lain? Bagus soalan tu. Nak jawab panjang. Okey. Jadi soalan dia maksudnya macam mana? Di Thailand guna baht, contoh kan? Di Malaysia guna ringgit kan? Okey. Kenapa kadar pertukaran antara Malaysia dengan Thailand ni berubah-ubah? Macam tu kot.
Lebih kurang macam tu lah.
Dulu contohnya macam mana? RM1 sama dengan 10 baht. Kan? RM1 sama dengan 10 baht. Kan? Okey, sekarang ni RM1 sama dengan 8 baht. Contoh kan? So, pasal apa dia berubah-ubah? Pasal apa di Malaysia guna RM1? Di Thailand guna 8 baht. Yang tu kot soalan dia. Sebelum saya jawab nak confirm soalan dia macam tu ke? Okey. Saya jawab secara ringkas lah. Dia ada banyak faktor atau banyak sebab yang menentukan nilai mata wang di sesebuah negara. Okey. Pasal apa di Malaysia guna ringgit, di Thailand guna baht? Okey. Pasal apa RM1 sama dengan 8 baht contohnya? Kenapa pada masa lain RM1 10 baht? Kemudian masa lain dia berubah. RM1 boleh jadi 11 baht. Gitulah. Dia akan berubah-ubah. Okay, faktor utamanya ialah dia panggil apa? Purchasing power, kuasa membeli. Purchasing power, kuasa membeli, relative purchasing power. Relative purchasing power. Nilai mata wang di sesebuah negara bergantung kepada relative purchasing power. Kuasa beli relatif. Maksudnya, jika sesuatu mata wang itu, jika sesuatu apa dia kuasa membeli relatif? Kuasa membeli relatif secara definisinya ialah nilai nilai CPI sebuah negara bahagi dengan nilai CPI negara lain. CPI ni apa? Indeks harga pengguna, CPI. Consumer Price Index. Okey. Formulanya, nak tulis payah kan? Kalau ada whiteboard senang lah. So, kamu tulis. So, contohnya, ringgit Malaysia bahagi dengan baht. Ringgit Malaysia bahagi dengan baht sama dengan sama dengan CPI di Thailand bahagi dengan CPI di Malaysia. Itu salah satu teori lah. CPI di Thailand menunjukkan CPI di Thailand ialah tahap harga umum di negara Thailand. Bahagi dengan CPI Malaysia ialah tahap harga umum barangan di Malaysia. Ringkasnya macam ni. Kamu bawa 800 kamu bawa 100 ringgit duit Malaysia, bawa 100 ringgit kan? Bawa 100 ringgit duit Malaysia, kemudian kamu tukar kepada baht. Kalau dia 1 ringgit sama dengan 8 baht, okey. Kalau kamu ada 100 ringgit, kamu tukar kepada baht jadi berapa? Dapat berapa baht? Siapa tu yang tanya tadi?
Saya.
Okey, soalan saya, katalah 1 ringgit kamu dapat 12 baht. Contohlah. Katalah 1 ringgit sama dengan 12 baht sekarang ni. Contohlah. Kamu bawa 100 ringgit, kamu dapat berapa baht? Kamu ada 100 ringgit, kamu pergi Thailand. Kamu nak tukar kepada baht. Berapa baht yang kamu dapat?
1,200.
Oh, pandai. Kamu dapat 1,200 baht. Okey. Kalau hotel di Malaysia, okey. Kalau hotel di Malaysia, katalah RM100 semalam. Okey. Kamu jangka kamu kena bayar dalam baht berapa? Lebih kurang 1,200 baht lah kamu nak sewa hotel. Betul tak?
Betul.
Sebab tu nilai ringgit tu, nilai mata wang tu dia melambangkan kuasa membeli wang tersebut. Okay? Jadi kalau kamu bawa 100 baht, kamu sewa hotel di Malaysia RM100 kan? Kalau kamu sewa hotel di Thailand, mungkin lebih kurang 1,200 lah baht. Jadi sama lah nilai tu. Contoh gitulah. Kalau kamu nak beli KFC, okey, katalah KFC di Malaysia RM10. Okey. Kamu pergi Thailand, agak-agak KFC harga berapa? Berapa baht? Kamu kena bayar lebih kurang 120 baht lah. Betul? Lebih kurang macam tu lah. So, secara umumnya, walaupun teori ni tak tepat, secara umumnya, nilai mata wang sesuatu negara ditentukan oleh kuasa membeli mata wang tersebut. Boleh faham tak apa dia tu tanya ni?
Faktor ekonomi mempengaruhi tak
Ya,
nilai mata wang?
betul. Faktor ekonomi juga mempengaruhi. Tadi saya sebut satu lah. Faktor utama ialah kuasa membeli relatif. Yang kedua juga bergantung kepada asas ekonomi, economic fundamentals. Asas ekonominya ialah pertumbuhan ekonomi. Okey. Lagi dia ada banyak faktor lah. Pertumbuhan ekonomi, dia panggil apa? Trade balance, imbangan dagangan, lepas tu sentimen pasaran. Sebab mata wang, nilai mata wang juga dipengaruhi oleh permintaan dan penawaran di pasaran wang. The demand and supply in the money market. So dari segi konvensional, nilai mata wang juga boleh ditentukan oleh pasaran wang, the money market. So faktor ekonomi juga mempengaruhi nilai mata wang. Aktiviti dalam pasaran wang, aktiviti spekulasi mata wang juga boleh mempengaruhi mata wang. Kapok tuan tanya dia.
Saya
Nama apa? Nur
Nur
Hazira.
Hazira. Ya.
Okey. Jadi jawapan dia panjang, ada banyak faktor lah yang mempengaruhi nilai mata wang. Bila
Terima kasih,
sebut
Doktor.
ada banyak lagi. Saya dulu tak mau cerita, kalau cerita saya sedih. Saya dulu pernah buat PhD berkaitan tajuk ni lah, tapi saya tak habis. Lepas tu saya tukar tajuk. Dulu tajuk saya tentang ekonomi antarabangsa. Dan tajuk khusus saya pertukaran mata wang lah. Saya tak habis. Lepas tu saya tukar tajuk kepada kewangan dan perbankan Islam. Alhamdulillah habis. Bila saya teringat tajuk wang, dasar kewangan, saya sedih. Lepas tu saya meleleh air mata. Kamu tengok air mata saya meleleh. Saya sedih meleleh air mata ni tengok. Oh ada. Tu saya tanya lah pasal mata wang. Tak lagi saya teriak kot. Meleleh dah air mata. Aduh. Tak leleh
Doktor
dah.
suruh tanya tadi, tanya.
Tanya hak lain tak apa. Jangan tanya banyak sangat tentang pertukaran mata wang.
Ini kita belajar wang, tanya wang lah.
Tak apa. Tanya saya jadi sedih kan. Tengok saya teriak dah lah ni. Tengok teriak lah. Meleleh air mata. Meleleh air mata. Meleleh yang hidung dah ni. Tengok. Air mata yang hidung meleleh.
Tak apa, tak tanya dah.
Okey. Kita berhenti awal hari ni sebab sebahagian kamu ada taklimat LI kan? Siapa ada taklimat LI? Tak ada?
Saya.
Okay, taklimat LI pukul apa? Pukul
3. Tapi yang ni ada jadual baru. Dia kata 3:30.
2. Oh, tak jadilah buat pukul. Tak jadilah buat pukul 3 tu.
Tak apa je.
Oh, ingat nak habis awal. Nota ni saya tak sempat nak edit lagi lah. Saya kena edit dulu lah. Tajuk seterusnya ialah berkaitan dengan model RSLM. Benda ni kamu dah belajar dah di masa belajar makro tu. Pernah ambil tak makroekonomi?
Ambil.
Sebakir dah ajak kamu kan? Model RSLM dia ada cover tak? RS curve, LM curve, dia ada cover tak? Macam ni? Tak ada? Yang mudah belajar tak?
Ada.
Orang dah belajar, saya tak boleh ajak tau.
Lupa doktor nak ajak lain.
Lupa. Oh, dia tajuk
Ambil
tadi.
SEM 3 dulu doktor.
Lah ni SEM apa dah?
6?
Oh, SEM 6 dah. Oh. SEM depan habis kan? No? Semua 7 SEM kan?
Ya doktor.
Lepas habis belajar, buat apa pula?
Kerja.
Oh, kerja. Cadang nak kerja apa?
Tak tahu lagi.